My name's Stonesy Boy and happy October. Um, Today we are reading a spooky book. Or at least I think this is a spooky book. It looks a lot like a spooky book. This book is not for the faint of heart. It's deliciously dark and gruesome. Yeah, I'm assuming this is a spooky book because of that quote on the back of the book. This is called The Dollhouse by John Hunt. Hunt with an H. I'm not that mean. Today we're reading pages 1 to 17, chapters 1 to 3. And it's a pretty big book. Like, it's big in size. So I think one page actually entices for 2 pages, or maybe 1.5. I don't know, really. But, without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 1. Is Dale okay with the breakup? Olivia sipped her coffee, looked away the foam mustache, and said, I guess. He didn't pitch a fit or anything. How could he be okay with it? He'd been together for a while. I don't like it, but it's the right thing to do, you know? Harry nodded, turning the coffee cup on the table with his fingers. They sat in Starbucks with the light music playing in the background, people moving and the rich smell of coffee and chocolate thick enough to touch. They placed themselves in the window because they wanted to keep an eye on the car, amazed how much of Olivia's stuff they've crammed into the Prius. After loading it, he had to lean in the hatch with all his body weight to get it closed. They had stuffed all the things they'd need for school and items she probably wouldn't need. Olivia was starting university on Monday. It hurt her to let her go. A hand squeezing his heart. He didn't like it. But she, like he said, even if you don't like it, you should do the right thing. He thought that's what she said. Maybe he paraphrased it a little. Even though he felt pending empty nest, he could deny a tingle of excitement for her. It was a good time in her life, to leave home for the first time and travel to the unknown. Like going on an adventure with a treasure map to guide the way, armed with good judgment and moral character. It had been a job to equip her with those attributes he lived and done well enough. Exceptional young woman. Isn't that what all dads thought about their children? Maybe yes, maybe no. Harry scanned the coffee shop, noting MacBooks, tablets, headphones, and e-books. People isolating themselves in public with electronics. Might as well have stayed home and wanted to drink all this coffee and browse the internet. Geez, he realized he was getting old. It happened quick. One day you woke up, looked around, and started saying things like, it's better back then, or music nowadays is just noise. And when words leave your lips, you're stunned, thinking, man, when I get old guy up here. You okay, Daddy? What? Yeah. You were frowning, staring off into space. What thing do you do when you're brooding? Brooding? I don't brood. I'm more of a pensive person. Brooding sounds negative. Brooding is negative, and you look it when you frown like that. She was concerned, and she knew what she had reservations about leaving home as well. It had been the two of them for so long. She could stay home and go to local college, and maybe not even have to break up with Dale. Everything stays the same. She would do it more than herself. And because she knew this, she wanted to have a good dad, even though lost his part with his heart. She left. He smiled and said, I'm just excited for you. This is going to be good for you. Yeah, it is going to be good for you, too. Of course it is. It's natural. Kids grow up, kids leave home. It's the way things are supposed to go. And I'm glad you turned out the way you did. I'm stunned, actually, with all my bumbling. You're a great dad. I could have asked for a better. Me either, kiddo. He sipped her coffee with the words. Some tension eased from her shoulders. She smiled and put her hands over his. He grinned and shook his head. What? Remember what I tried to tell you about? He glanced around the coffee shop and certain no one was paying attention to any of them. He whispered, your period? Olivia chuckled and groaned. Oh my, it was a disaster. You started sweating and stuttering. Like the time you tried to explain the birds and the bees. I mean, who even says that anymore? He said, I wanted to puke. My stomach flipped around on me, and I thought I was going to heave when I took a tampon out of the wrapper and tried to show you where it went. Remember that? Holy Christ on a popsicle stick. It sucked. He sipped on his drink. His face was bright red, the rueful smile dressing in his face. Olivia, laughing at him, drew a chuckle from him. This cramery of comedy. You didn't suck. You didn't have a vagina. Geez, keep it down, would you? You did it all alone, Dad. I think you did a terrific job, because I'm pretty awesome. She grinned, amusement and dancing jewel in her eye. Beautiful like her mother, he thanked God that she didn't take after him. He wasn't ugly, but he wasn't good looking either. The crown of his head decided to put her pushing her hair out too early was an opinion. He fussed over this morning, taking care to comb over the hair and growing pink crown. Without look, he was trying to cover it with everyone, including him, knew it was possible. This lost his hair on the top of his head where he wanted it, and instead he sprouted out his ears where he didn't want it. What is the evolutionary purpose of growing hair in your ears as you age? Harry liked that Olivia had been spared of any resemblance to him. You have always wanted the best for your children, and the daughter with his looks. What wouldn't have been less than ideal? Her mother, Samantha, had been stunning. She was not interested in being a mother, or maybe she didn't want to be involved with him. The result was the same either way. After Olivia had been born, she left her with him. Said she never wanted a child and left town. She hadn't been heard or seen from again. She got a beautiful daughter out of it,
from a one-night stand with a woman who had been way out of his league. He remembered the night he had met her. Flabbergasted would have been an understatement to his reaction when she brought him a drink. They moved from the bar to a booth and spoke for the most of the night. He laughed at his jokes and reached out to touch him with her fingers, puncturing her words like a manicured nails. He smelled like strawberries, not her perfume, her skin, like goddamn strawberries. He hadn't expected marriage. He knew he had been too drunk decision of regret on her part. Still, to just leave and never want to be involved with her wonderful daughter? Harry would fathom it. Hard thing to explain when Olivia got old enough to ask her about her mother and why did she leave. A part of him wondered if she sometimes wished her mother would come back and take her away from her awkward father. Maybe she dreamed about it late night, starting to glow in the dark stars as he pasted on her ceiling. Yeah, those are so marginally awesome. Marginal? Yes, after strong reflection, I believe your awesomeness is marginal at this point. After university, I'm sure their stock will rise, but it depends. Oh, yeah? It depends on what? How often do you call to visit your father? Well, I thought I'd stop by for Christmas and get presents, of course. Oh, and if I run out of money, I may come home. Only, I need something. Harry clutched his chest. My heart, you've broken it, but I accept those terms. Olivia laughed. Come on, Dad, I'll call and visit as much as I can. I'm not even gone yet, and I already miss you. I'm gonna miss this. This? Yeah, this. Moments like this. It's a pretty good one, and because I raised you to be awesome, I think you're gonna have a great time. Thanks, Dad. I think I will too. Don't get pregnant. Dad, stay away from crystal meth and boys named Andy. What? Andy? Shifty little bastards. Boys named Andy. He laughed and said, You're so random. Hey, feigning offense, he said. These are pearls of parental wisdom, and you should treat them as such. Andy and crystal meth. Terrible. He raised an eyebrows, and after a quick glance at her watch, said, It's time to go. I gotta get to the residence stew. Where's Uncle Frank? I thought he was helping us. With big blue eyes watching him, and he remembered picking up her after her first day of kindergarten, she looked at him with absolute trust, particularly to children who raised their arms and were lifted up and carried. He never thought he would love someone so much to feel the love in return. He had lifted her off the ground and walked through the car in his arms. He had jabbered in his car in her day and friends she met. Harry, listening and nodding, wondered how much love can a heart hold. Limitless. His heart, anyways. Harry checked his watch and said, Frank, he's gonna meet us there. You're right, it's time to scoot. We got a long drive ahead of us. Dad, it's an hour. I'm only an hour away. Like I said, a long drive. Probably have to fill up twice. On the way there and on the way back. You drive a Prius. You won't have to fill it up until next month. He nodded. They do get good mileage, don't they? She stood and followed her out of the car. As they drove the university to Gulf from their hometown of Hamilton, they walked comfortable with each other. Harry thought it even wasn't his daughter. She met someone that he actually liked. A good person. Was it parental blindness? Could be. He didn't think so. He could tell by the way friends greeted her and how Dale had held her residence that there was something about her. There was a person people glanced in and entered the room. She was the person dogs never barked at. He did all right as a father. Even the teenage years weren't all that bad. They weren't good either. The few sleepless nights wishing that she had someone to talk to about it, Frank, the consummate bachelor, never had anything helpful to say. Harry had no idea how to talk to her when he came home smelling of dope, giggling at nothing particularly funny. Still, compared to some of the stories he heard, he figured he'd survived the years as a teen relatively unscathed. They arrived in the city, followed the signs posted in the Hanlon Highway to the university, smaller than Hamilton and less industrialized. Gulf was a pretty city. Old trees, plenty of green space, the town built around the accommodating of the university. Harry believed Olivia was safe here, one of the safest cities in Canada, according to the Statistics Canada. The sprawling university's ground bloomed before them, older red brick buildings beside newer glass and steel ones. Along expanses of grass sprouting thick trunk trees and branches drooping from the weight of the leaves. Moving in the day, the roads around the campus were clogged with inching cars packed with laundry, hampers, lamps, and detritus of student living. The roads wound around the buildings, creating a daunting maze. After many glances at the glossy map of the pamphlet, they found a right building. Flank stood out front, ogling the passing girls. Geez, Uncle Frank, put your eyes back in your head, would you? You look like a lion at a watering hole. Yes, of course. Should I have worn sunglasses, you think? Then no one would see where I'm looking. Olivia laughed and said, You know you're old enough to be their father? He waved his statement off. Nonsense. I'm younger than your dad. You know, I'm quite a lot. But I'm more older than cousin, handsome, witty, and much more attractive because as a cousin, I have to be off limits, the risk of birth defects and all. Barry said, all right, let's get her upload and you two can carry on your conversation about how Frank is a creeper. Creeper? Me? He smiled and wiggled his eyebrows. Olivia laughed. They lugged off their stuff to the room, weaving and twisting past the smiling students, happy to be out of there under the parents' watchful eye. Harry noticed a few male heads turned at the look of the daughter, and the knot of worry tightened in his guts. People put drugs in drinks, he exhaled, and reminded himself he trusted Olivia. She knew more about what than he did. He would be fine. After Harry placed the last box in the room, he leaned past the desk, drinking a Coke. Olivia drank a Coke Zero. Frank checked his watch like he had somewhere to be. Harry said, "You need a hand unpacking all this?" "No." "All right, I'll get going then." Frank said, "Yeah, cool. I gotta go too. So, I'll leave you two crybabies alone to say your goodbyes." He pointed at Olivia. "I expect you to see you on Thanksgiving, young lady. Depends. Are you gonna bring a date? A classic Frank date? This should be good. What's a classic Frank date? All looks, no substance. It hurts that I'm so transparent, but of course, I don't date for conversation. I have you and your dad for that. The few times a year I decide to show up anyways. We'll take care. Remember, try out as many dudes as you can before settling for one." Harry said, "Frank, come on, man." He raised his hands. "It's good advice." He scurried to the door, and Harry's mouth tried to turn a thin line and said, "See you." Harry jabbed a thumb in Frank's back and said, "Quite the character. Yeah." He stood and hugged him and squeezed her back. Harry thought, "Keep it together. Don't you cry." The smell of memories. Her first walk, her first words, her first bike ride, her first day of school, all the images popping through the hippocampus in his brain. Weird to hold her heart in his arms, but to know he must let it go. He released her first. But his eyes have a bit of shine to them? Definitely. Olivia faked not noticing very well. "I'll be home for Thanksgiving. You'll pick me up, right?" "Absolutely. Let me know the time and I'll be there." Frank's date should be entertaining. Friday she would string some words together and form a sentence. He rolled her eyes. "Can't wait." "I know, right? At least you know it'll be interesting. Frank's dates usually are. I'll see you then." "Yeah, drive safe, Dad. I'll call you. Once a week? Maybe twice." He pointed at her. "I'm holding you to that." "Okay, I'll call you twice a week, and see you in a month or so." "Damn right you will." He walked out, proud and sad, hoping he liked it there, and hoping she hated it and wanted to come home. Chapter 2. Harry sank into the couch with a beer in his hand and turned on the TV. 5 o'clock and already dark out. He shook his head. Effing Canadian winters. He popped up the top and had a can flitting to the channels. Not seeing anything, just trying to find a background noise. Something to dull the senses like drinking beer. He served it into the stillness of thoughts since Olivia disappeared 5 years ago. Or, let's be real here, since she was taken. He wouldn't slow his brain. The gears wouldn't slow. Kept chunking along, showing him images of Olivia dead in a ditch. When he thought of this, he had often did this because of his stupid, cruel brain. In his mind's eye, it was already raining. She'd be at the bottom, her hair in a golden halo fanned out in the dirty mud. Her hands would be taped in front of her fingernails worn down and peeled back as though she tried to escape by scratching through a wall. The rain splashed into her open mouth and blinked into her eyes. She never flinched, she never blinked, and that's how she knew she was dead. Sometimes she saw her body crumpled at the bottom of an old well, arms and legs bent in unnatural angles, bones poking through flesh, her expression a postcard of pain. Again, the rain humming backdrop falling from the heavy gray clouds, and he'd think I failed her. She'd been taken and he couldn't find her. He wouldn't save her, and he sure as hell gonna do one thing parents are supposed to do, protect her. Now, as soon as he got home from work, he drank into the reminiscence of the brain's silence. He had a problem with the drink. He knew it. He knew the people at work knew it. When you come in the morning with red eyes popping Advil like candy, people notice. Good thing he worked like a bastard. Work, he found, also produced a stillness of thoughts, turning his thoughts and focus on the problem he solved and pushing the images away. He put a lid on his working in a short time, working in it. And for a big corporate, it kept him busy like he liked it. It was drinking he had stopped his upward mobility. For as long as he had been there, and with his experience, he should have been superior by now. Or maybe the admin side, the guy who decided equipment to buy, what software to acquire, all the fun shit super geeks had liked him for. That at least he kept his drinking for when he was working. Almost, anyways. There was one time he had came back from the lunch in a bit of sway. He had one too many martinis at lunch. Well, probably a few too many. While gulping one down, he pointed at his glass at the bartender, signaling he wanted another with a flurry of hands, wanting it in a hurry. His lunch hour wasn't over and it was getting close. The bartender, a young guy with the eyebrow piercing, one ugly mustache, shrugged and made him another one. He knew drunk when he saw one. Harry liked him warm feeling inside. He sat on his stomach and then reached out all the parts of his body. A pleasant tingling feeling. Maybe too pleasant. A martini wasn't a chugging drink. He was having a man. But who the F would you hurry up in a hurry? Returning to the office like it was a mistake, he should have called in sick and went home to sleep it off. But like most drunks, he thought about he'd be fooling everyone, and like most drunks, he soon found out how wrong he was. He swayed in, talking a little too loud, bumping into cubicles and making a giant fool of himself in front of his peers and supervisors. Naturally, the supervisors became concerned. They sent Tracy to talk to him, person he had trained, the person he had been getting closer to before before he lost her. They talked into the office and closed the door behind her. Never a good sign. He remembered his heart sped up a little. He thought, they're finally going to do it. I'm getting fired. His stomach rebelled and he thought he was going to puke on his desk. He swallowed, his mouth gushing with saliva, and he couldn't look in her in the eyes. He stared up at the coffee cup on his desk. It was white and black lettering across it read, "Don't talk to me like I've got my first coffee." He kept his eyes on her and approached. He saw in front of her shirt, and it made her waist. Black and some pattern on it. Were they glasses? It was like reading glasses? He couldn't tell. All they could do is they didn't look at her, not her face. They didn't make him what they could they? He felt a deep shame, and then his face burned with it. It was part of him, an alcoholic part. The greedy little man in the corner of his soul thought that maybe it would be so bad to be fired. It could be a good thing. They'd have to buy him out, and then he could get down to serious drinking. Something attractive about the idea, and noticed an urge to destroy himself. He wanted to be the bottom and stay there, where the pain wasn't as sharp, where it didn't have teeth. When Tracy surprised him, he handed him a pamphlet for Alcoholics Anonymous and spoke to him about lunchtime martinis. He had a problem. The bosses knew it, were monitoring him. They were sympathetic with the losses and support therapy. He wanted it. No, he didn't want it. He raised his eyes to hers. He's flushed. He had a pale skin. Red heads have white as paper that filled with red and embarrassing or awkward moments, like this one. He watched her lips and wanted to kiss them. Did she smell like strawberries? Drunk thoughts, stupid thoughts. He told him this was one and final warning. He'd come back to work drunk again and he'd be fired. He nodded. He understood. He told him she was going to go home now and return tomorrow sober. The company already called a cab on his behalf, and in case he was wondering, it wasn't a suggestion. He patted his pockets for his keys, nodded, and left. He didn't meet anyone's gaze on the way out. He couldn't. He wondered if he could even return the next day. In a cab, he was passing shops, cars, and people walking to anywhere. He realized the break he had just gotten. He didn't want bottom of that bad after all. He needed work to keep busy or he'd go crazy in the office there. Then Tracy was speaking to him. He had the urge to kiss her in the most inappropriate setting, to smell her and find out if her skin smelled like strawberries. In the moment, he tasted crazy. He thought of the saying. He couldn't remember what it was from, but he surfaced the cab and played it in his brain, like a song on repeat. The center could not fold. Dread flooded him, as if he could keep going on like that, without work to act as behavioral anchor. He'd lose all identity, moving from one drunken fog to another, broken up by the need to sleep or search for the next bottle. He would be sucked into an abyss that he created, a crazy place with no escape, where images of Olivia's dead body kept him consistent company, pointing accurate or fingers. He didn't want to visit there again. For a brief moment in the cabin, embarrassment pushed aside his aberration and the visitor's elbow. He told himself he quit for good. Better rampant thoughts of facing that type of humiliation again. Then he got home. He opened the fridge to see the six-pack of Lavin Maximum Iced beer on the shelf and thought 70.1% alcohol content, baby. Then he drunk constant lie of the tomorrow. I'll quit tomorrow flitted through his mind as he reached for the bottle. Then he restricted his drinking to home after work. He ate lunch at his desk in office and spoke so people could see him, and let his coffee spies know he was sticking to the deal. And who knew? Maybe it'd help him quit. He just had to take it one day at a time. He was fooling himself and insightful enough to know it. The best lies, the most convincing, ain't the ones well as ourselves. And no one can lie better than an alcoholic. He turned to a hockey game, slugged back a beer, and went into the kitchen for another. He opened a cupboard for a glass and saw a shot glass. He took it down and looked in the liquor cabinet. It stood empty. What the hell did he drink the dark rum? He was sure he had half a bottle at least. You're a drunk, and drunks have no memory, he thought. It scared him a bit to think he drank a bottle without remembering it. He put a shot glass back, opened another can, and poured it into the glass and took a drink. Have a fear you don't want to face? The ugly truth is a little too ugly. Have a beer. The solution to harsh realities. A small smile creased in the cheek. He took another can of beer and brought it back to the couch and watched the Leafs suffer another loss. Damn, though, is a Leafs fan. He sipped out his beer, feeling the edges getting softer. His eyelids drooping, his chin dancing on his chest. He managed to keep filling his glass, and then it had the nerve to be empty. The phone bleated, arming him. Cold beer stopped over the rim of his glass and splashed in his lap. Who'd be calling? It wouldn't work. They used to call for IT problems in the past, but not since it began the love affair with the sauce. He didn't have friends once upon a time, but his combination of withdrawal and liberal self-medication of alcohol, they disappeared along with Olivia. Even his brother Frank barely called anymore. His phone digitally changed. Probably a jackass cold caller, even though he put himself in the no-contact list. It continued to bray. He stood a little wobbly, set a glass before him. He slapped over more about it. He watched the cordless, saw the unknown number display, and picked it up. Listen, I'm drunk. Tired and not interested in what you're telling. Daddy. His world stopped. And that is the end of the first reading of Dollhouse. Wow. So far, there's been no dolls and there's been no houses, unless you count his daughter as a doll, in which case that's kind of messed up, considering she's dead. I thought we were reading chapters 1 to 3, but I was wrong. Chapters 1 to 2. Next time, however, we are reading 26 pages. 25. Still sucks. To 43. Chapter 5. Chapter 3 to chapter 5. So many pages, so little time.
Alright, hold on. Chapter 18 to 40, or pages 43. Oh, man. It doesn't seem like we're reading a lot of chapters, even though we're reading 26 pages. Like the devil himself forced me to. But there's only... Oh, never mind. There's 40 chapters. Ooh, never mind. Don't listen to me. I'm going cuckoo crazy. But yeah, you know, it's funny, though. The way I have this set up over here, there's only going to be 10 episodes. Considering it's a 200-page thing. So yeah, next episode we're doing 26. And then the episode after that, we're doing 20. And then the episode after that, we're doing only 15. So we're going to go into this weird cycle of long, of short, long, medium. Or short, medium, long, short, medium, long. Or short, long, medium. Whatever. Anyways, hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be like, be efficient. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.